Hey there guys, and welcome to episode 6 of the Monday Mtb Show. In this week's episode, I've got some great new channels for us to check out, as well as some brilliant shreds of the week. We've got the Trail Talk preview. This week I spoke to Steve Mokan from Chasing Epic, and then I talk about and have a look at the Hope HB160, the mountain bike that Hope make. So, just before we get started, I just wanted to give you guys a quick reminder to make sure you stick your recommendations for channels below. So we've got the Weekend Warrior channel that I cover, and we've also got the channel of the week that I feature in my video as well. So make sure you keep sticking the comments below to recommend those guys, and they might make it into next week's episode of the Monday Mtb Show. And then I'm still approaching people, and I'm actually being approached by people now to appear on my Trail Talk on Wednesdays. But once again, just give me an email. If you go to reluctantrider.com, you can email me through there. If you want to talk to me on Trail Talk, you think you've got something interesting to talk about, you don't have to be a massive YouTuber or, well known in the mountain biking world. As long as you've got a story that you think I might be interested in, then yeah, I may well want to get you on Trail Talk to chat about it. So just keep that in mind. And then I cut this out of last week's episode because it got a bit too long-winded. I started rambling on a little bit too much about it. But the same thing happened to me this week when I was looking for videos and for channels to feature in my mountain bike show, is that too many people are using music, as far as I'm concerned, in the wrong way. I mean, it's your videos, isn't it? You can make videos however you choose, but if you're trying to build a YouTube channel, or you're trying to make videos that people are going to enjoy, then a good way of doing it isn't to just have like 10-15 minutes of just strictly POV footage with a really loud song on loop over the whole video. It makes no sense. Music can be like absolutely vital to a video, where it's just a short snappy video where you've got the video scene changing on the beats of the song. That's really good. Or when you're making like a big production where you've got some POV footage, some third person footage, some drone footage, then music is absolutely vital in the video there. But too many times this week I've found videos that are like 15 minutes long, really great footage, but then just a track overlaid, nothing to do with the riding, normally rock and roll / dance music, so as it's kind of in fitting with downhill riding, but for me it does nothing for the video. And also what you've got to keep in mind when you just overlay one song on a loop, or maybe 2 or 3 songs following one after the other in a 10-15 minute video, is that if the person watching doesn't like the songs that you're playing, chances are they aren't going to watch for very long. People have already got to like your riding style, they've already got to like where you're riding, if you talk at all in the videos, they've already got to like your personalities. There's lots of things that people have already got to like, but then you're asking them to have the same taste in music as you. You're just fighting a losing battle as far as I'm concerned, and it's made me write off a lot of footage this week. So just a little piece of advice there from me. You might totally disagree, and that's fine, but yeah, for my money, you kind of won't end up on my show if your videos are just 15 minutes of POV footage with music overlaid and no work done in the video to make it suit the music. So on that note, let's just jump straight into the Weekend Warrior of the Week. Now this guy I found last week, and he was going to feature in last week's show, but a lot of other stuff came up at the last minute, and the same as this week actually. I've got like 5 or 6 channels this week that I was picking through, and it took me a long time to narrow it down to the actual people that I wanted to feature in the show. And this guy specifically, Trail Features, isn't really uploading regularly enough over the past sort of month really for me to feature him last week. But then this week he uploaded another fantastic video, and it just like brought my attention back to him again, and I just had to talk about him today. So the main reason I wanted to talk about Trail Features is because of a video he did called The Hill of Life. It's got a much longer name than that. I'll stick it in the description below, as I will all the links. Just make sure that you work your way through the links after you've finished watching this video, and subscribe to this channel and like this video. But yeah, Trail Features is one that I've wanted to talk about for a while, because this Hill of Life video is very different, and it shows the effort and the skill that this guy applies to this style of video when he makes them. Now, from watching some of his other videos, I know that the Hill of Life was a particular kind of special video for him. It was a real labour of love, and it is just a great video. Now what I think makes him stand out as something different is because that video was almost like a kind of holiday, not holiday, but like a tourism, you know, professionally put together tourism video specifically for mountain bikers, but with quite a lot of character in it. Quite a lot of his character comes across in the video, and basically what that says to me is, when I watched this video, and it was, and he really, it's really worth noting how much this guy, Joseph he's called, sacrifices his rides to give us a really good video. This Hill of Life video, he carries 25 pounds of camera gear around with him. You might have saw him on No Front Brakes, that channel, he talked about it as well. He carries a lot of camera equipment with him and almost really sacrifices his ride so as he can give us the absolute best kind of video experience possible. And what having that attitude to making your mountain bike videos does is it makes it so as you get to see the whole trail from all kinds of different angles. Like, he doesn't ride, he's not like what I would call a real shredder, he's not a really fast rider, which lends itself quite well to his POV footage is quite slow and controlled, and it means that you can really see the trail. And then when he starts shooting third person stuff, you get to see the trail at a different angle. And then like in the Hill of Life video, he does a little bit of the tourism, shows you this pond that's up on that particular ride, and it just makes for a really well-rounded, brilliant video that, in my opinion, someone should be paying him to make as part of the kind of tourism for that place. And if not that, he should certainly be thinking about, I mean, it's very easy to say this, but I definitely think there's a place for a mountain biking YouTuber that kind of travels around the US or just around his area to start off with, and does a video like that for all of the really known and well good rides. Because while BKXC and Alexander and all of those guys that do really, really great videos and show us these amazing trails, that viewing experience with those guys is as much about the adrenaline side of it and watching people go fast on mountain bikes as it is about actually seeing where they are. Whereas with Joseph's videos, it's very much, you see much more of the trail, you get much more of a feel for the place because the guy's taking his time and doing some shots that a lot of the other guys don't do. So, and I really think that there's a place for that on YouTube. So what we'll do is we'll have a look at his Hill of Life video now. I'll try and show some of the best bits, but a lot of time went into editing this video. I just can't show the whole 8 minutes of it in this show, but it's a really great video. Let's take a look.
Hey everyone, today we're going to be checking out the Lost Creek Trail here in Austin, Texas. You start out on the Hill of Life. It's really chunky and you have to be aware of hikers. However, there are some wide open sections where you can really open up. To find out why it's called Dump Truck, you'll need to make it over some punchy climbs, try not to fall off the side of the trail, and make it up a few hike-a-bike sections. No one's really sure how this got here, but it's a pretty cool landmark. In Austin, the average temperature for July can easily break 100 degrees in the shade. People come here in droves to have fun and cool off. Right now, the water's a bit low, but normally the falls are running with cool, clear water. Not having a waterfall doesn't stop people or pets from making the most of the day.
Absolutely superb, that video as well. And what I'm also going to do is show you a little bit of another one of his videos, which is the one from this week, where he basically shot in a BMX park, just shot other people riding from what I can gather. And this is how you use music in a YouTube video. Okay guys, so trail features, Joseph, well done mate, you get my weekend warrior of the week. And that takes us on to our channel of the week. And this week it's an English channel called TrailRiderMTB, a guy called Ross that does a lot of riding with a guy that I think is his brother. But I'm not 100% sure about that. He features a lot in his video, this other guy. But the guy himself, Ross, obviously does all the shooting, and the majority of the footage is on his bike. I think sometime it flicks to the other guy's bike. The other guy is called Kieran, and like I say, it's a bit confusing. I was looking through and I thought that this Kieran chap, it was his channel because it's his face that you see most of the time in the latest videos. But I think Kieran is just his brother, I think actually, that rides with him quite often, so you end out seeing him a lot in the video. But obviously Ross does all the shooting and he's absolutely superb. What I love about this channel is the fact that he's riding in England. He spends a lot of time riding in Wales and that, and it's just, you can really feel his pain in the fact that he's riding in the British weather all the time. Doesn't seem to bother him too much, but he's quite unique for me in the sense that he's managed to utilize all the different GoPro mounts and GoPros and everything that he can do, but really really seems to put a lot of effort into getting the right angles on helmet cams and stuff like that, because he has a problem that America, the big American channels and stuff don't have this problem, in that he has to fight the rain on a very regular basis, which means his gimbal can't always come out, which means he's constantly getting his GoPro splattered with mud and stuff like that. So yeah, it's really ingenious. He's got really great placements of cameras that aren't uncommon, don't get me wrong, but he just seems to have nailed it. He seems to have the angles and everything exactly right, and it's just creating, when he can't use the stabilizer, he's putting out unstabilized footage that is actually watchable and doesn't make you just want to throw up on your laptop or your phone or whatever it is that you're watching it on. He really, really nails it. Yeah, his brother really complements the channel as well. I think his brother's got a channel going as well now, but I take it they'll still collaborate with each other a lot. If Kieran is his brother, I'm sorry if I've got that wrong, Ross and Kieran, but yeah, Kieran is funny as fuck. The video that I'm gonna feature in this video is when they went to Bike Park Wales together. I'll show you some of that now actually. And Kieran, the footage is obviously all shot by Ross, which makes the video what it is really. But you can't underestimate how much of a difference it makes to the video to have someone like this Kieran chap in front of the camera. He's absolutely hilarious.
Bit wet, Kieran. It's fucking wet. We're on our way to Bike Park Wales. What's going on? Checking in. And then dropping in. Lies!
Have you not?
No.
Oh, you don't need one here though.
No.
Oh, I nearly came off.
Yeah, I really love that channel. Like I say, for me, it's the fact that I can see and I can empathise with him as like an Englishman where, dry days are few and far between. Sunny days are even fewer and even farther between. And yet this guy's kind of making lemonade in the sense that he's really, really shooting really great footage and, not hiding what it is to ride in Britain. His videos show exactly how it is to ride in Britain, but that you can still have a really good time. So yeah, TrailRiderMTB gets my channel of the week. Absolutely well deserved. Brilliant channel, mate. And that takes us into our shreds of the week. And this week, I'm absolutely stoked to be able to give one of my shreds of the week to Phil Metz. I spoke to him obviously the week before last, just before he went up to Whistler for Crankworks, I think it's called. But yeah, he basically, I think a company called Noble, I think it is, flew him up there, and yeah, this video is basically him going out for a ride, I think on his first day there. It's called I Haven't Messed Up This Badly in a While, and it's an absolutely brilliant video. Yeah, I won't talk about the crash too much because there is a crash in it, and Phil Metz feels terrible about it, but I'll come on to that in a minute. But the video itself, it's 21 minutes long, so for a lot of people that sit and watch videos, I think sometimes that's too long. I mean, for me, I quite often look at over 15 minutes and I hesitate on pressing watch, on pressing the play button. But this video is well worth a watch. So it's the same trail as Brian Kennedy BKXC rode with Seth's Bike Hacks a while ago, and it's that really technical, just awesome looking trail. I can't think what it's called now, but if you watch Phil Metz's video, you'll see. And the thing that I really loved about this video is how it's good to see people like Phil Metz, who's an absolutely out of this world rider, riding trails like that, because you could see him sussing it out to start off with. He was saying how tight the corners were and how he couldn't predict what the trail was doing, and how it was kind of slowing him down a little bit. But then as the video goes on and on and on, you just, in the end, so sort of the first 10 minutes of Phil getting used to the trail and not really taking any of his usual kind of high lines and popping off stuff, just while he gets used to it. And then the second half, in true Phil Metz like style, he just starts hooning it down this trail much faster than it feels like he should be able to, taking these really tight corners really quick, popping off stuff, taking really cool little high lines. Just a really great video. I really love the way that this video evolved into just like a Phil Metz kind of classic, but in Whistler Bike Park. It was so good. So yeah, that video from Phil Metz gets my first shred of the week, and then my second shred of the week goes to Biker B1. It's an absolutely awesome video, this one. Again, links are all in the description below, but this is Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. Biker B1 actually did this ride with the Mountain Bike Savant, so they've both got videos out for this week, and the Mountain Bike Savant video is actually very good as well. I would like to have included that, but Phil Metz's video was just so good. But Biker B1's video, I think it's probably one of the first one of his proper trail videos that I've watched, and it's the polar opposite to what Phil Metz's video was actually. Like, they're obviously on completely different levels in their skills on a mountain bike, but that didn't make the video any less enjoyable at all. Like, you know, he really showed how hard the climb was on this ride really well. He edited it so as it was just perfect. You got just the right amount of seeing him suffering up the climb without it being too boring. You know, he's commentating, and it's just, you know, it was a lot of the video was actually the really technical climb that they did, but it was really good. And then on the downhill, you know, it's like really gnarly terrain that this guy is riding, and yeah, he's a pretty stout guy, like, you know, he's a pretty big dude, and I just really like the way that he was just going barreling into this really big stuff. You know, he takes stuff at quite a steady pace, but he tries to ride absolutely everything, and it was just an absolutely awesome video to watch. And like I say, just totally different, but like really great in a totally different way. I really enjoyed it. It's the first one of Biker B1's, like I say, trail videos that I've really watched. Really funny, really entertaining guy. Definitely well worth my second shred of the week. And then that takes us on to our Trail Talk preview. So this week I spoke to Steve Mokan from Chasing Epic, I think that's how you pronounce his name, the guiding company that operates out there in Colorado and sort of the surrounding states. But yeah, Steve was a really nice guy. So here's just a quick preview from my chat with him. Because I've obviously seen, being someone that follows BKXC, I've seen the mountain biking that's on offer, but as someone that's ridden it as much as you have now, if like there was like a sales pitch for like riding in Colorado and New Mexico and Utah, what's the kind of like element that sticks out to you the most about riding in that area?
So it's really diverse, actually. So if you think about our destinations, I would really split them up into two different groups. So we've got kind of the spring-fall trips, which are really high desert. So if you've seen pictures of Moab, St. George, Sedona, a lot of those trips, that is, I mean, I would classify all of that stuff as technical, rocky, high desert terrain, where you can ride when it's cold everywhere else on Earth. You can go ride there and it's going to be 75 degrees. And so depending on, you know, which location you go to, the views are freaking incredible. I mean, you'll never see anything like Moab, or, you know, St. George is just beyond belief. So it's really, you know, riding some awesome, fun, technical single track in some of the coolest, most unique destinations you'll ever see in your life.
And then that takes us on to riding the web. Now this week, I've seen this bike pop up a few times, but I've never really researched into it too much. So Hope, who are based in Northern England, just a really great like English company that make really awesome bike components, as everyone will know. They've been developing their own bikes now, I think for like a couple of years. They started off with this Hope 211. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I've not done loads of research on this, but I've just done a bit then. So they started off making like a prototype bike for their staff to ride, basically, just to get started with developing their own bikes. So the Hope 211 is what it started out as, and it's kind of like a long travel, you know, like an enduro bike, so like 160, 170 mil, that kind of category of bike. It's actually got 160 mil of travel front and back now, I think. But so the 211 was the kind of start of that evolution to what it is now, which is the Hope 160.
Take it for a spin if you want.
Oh, there you go, yeah.
I don't think so.
Now the Hope 211, I saw, I think the earliest post I saw about it was in January 2016, so I assume that they had been developing that bike through 2015. Now what makes it, now if you look back through some of the articles and stuff about it, you'll see that in April of 2016 one of these bikes was nicked. One of the 211s, the original ones, was nicked from one of their staff members, because basically they built a handful of these bikes, gave one each to certain staff members, I guess in Hope in the UK, and they were just riding around on them. And this guy that lives, I think, is it in the Swiss Alps, was helping develop it, design it. And yeah, they reckon they're going to make 500 a year of these things. They're going to be $7.5 grand each. That's sterling. And yeah, they just look like an absolute weapon of a bike. But like, I was quite interested in this because, you know, when you look at brands like Santa Cruz and Intense, and then like the bikes that are more common on this side of the pond, perhaps the Canyons and the YTs that have burst onto the scene a bit more in the last couple of years, these bikes you can buy for sort of anything between $2,000 and you can spend up to kind of 6,000 sterling on these bikes, I guess. And you know that you're getting really progressive geometries in terms of the way that they're quite slack now on sort of all mountain enduro style bikes, the long travel bikes, which is more what I tend to focus on and what the Hope is about. But the way that, what I'll do is I'll stick a bit of this video up in a minute, but MBR have just done a first look at the HB160. And what I found quite interesting was when the guy started actually talking about the ride of the bike, so how good the ride was. So the bike at like £7,500 to buy and 500 a year, it's quite an exclusive bike to buy. It's going to be an awesome bike from that point of view. But I found it quite interesting when he started talking about the way it rode, in the fact that there's a good chance that because this is the first few iterations of the bike, and the first iteration certainly that they're making for, you know, people, for the general public to use, it's very interesting that you'll be spending £7,500 on a bike that, while it's all very exclusive, all very high end, probably won't ride as well as maybe even a £2,500–3,000 mountain bike that's been around for a long time, has got a progressive geometry. But what the guy goes on to say in this interview is basically that this guy that made it has made it specifically for kind of like the single track that you find in the Alps. So like if you saw BKXC St Moritz, it would be that kind of style of riding. So very steep single track, not masses of high speed stuff, switchback, you know, doing endos on switchback turns and stuff like that, really tight corners. That's supposed to be what it's really marketed for. But that's quite a niche style of riding that you're going to be doing, because basically it is like an epically expensive bike. And what the guy basically said in the video, in the MBR video, is that it will get out of shape. If you take it to a bike park and start going really fast, it will get out of shape and it won't handle so well as like a Santa Cruz Nomad, which you can get cheaper. So yeah, I'm quite interested in this one. I mean, first and foremost with this, especially as an English mountain biker, it's great that an English components company like Hope have now started making like really high-end mountain bikes. It's not like they've started, you know, they've only got like quite small facilities as far as I'm aware, but like really high-end facilities. They're so world renowned, and really the only way for them to get into building bikes is for them to make extremely high-end expensive bikes, not many of them, because, you know, a company like that to start thrashing out some low-end bikes to get a feel for how to do this, you know, it wouldn't really make sense. So what it means is that the bikes that are available to us, yeah, they aren't as well developed as a lot of the, you know, the mainstream bigger brands, but this is what you'd want to see from a company like Hope making their first run of bikes. You know, it looks like an absolute weapon. It's just worth keeping in mind that when you invest in these things, you've obviously got to have a shit ton of money anyway, because it's £7,500, but also you're investing in the kind of future of Hope bikes, and, you know, hopefully they'll keep doing this. Maybe they'll just stop. From what I can gather, it's something that they're doing because they really, really want to, you know, they really want to have their own bikes out there. So yeah, really interesting subject, this one. I could talk about it for ages, but just leave your comments below what you think about the look of the bike, and, you know, whether you just think it's an abomination that they've made something so bespoke, because you can't really interchange components on and off the bike. It's a Hope bike, it's built for their components, it was basically built from the hub out. So really, really interesting. Love to see your comments below on that one. And then I just wanted to have a quick few words about like Phil's crash. So Phil Metz, that video that I mentioned just now, where he said that he really badly messed up in Whistler Bike Park. Go and watch that video. Don't skip to the crash. Watch the whole thing anyway, because it's brilliant. But Phil, you can tell that Phil felt at the time, I don't know if he still does, totally terrible about what happened with this guy. And I can see why he feels bad, and at the time I would be exactly the same with the guy, you know, saying to him, I'm really, really sorry for what, you know, you could really see that he felt really bad, and it kind of shook him up for a lot of the ride. But if you watch the footage back, I mean, it doesn't really need breaking apart any more than it's just an accident. Shit happens in bike parks. You're going to crash into people every now and then, especially when it's as tight as it was here. And yeah, you could say that Phil, coming up to this drop-off, had a good vantage point. He obviously glanced at him, thought he had stopped, and then went for it. But then at the same time, Phil was talking as he was coming up to the drop-off. Phil was on the gnarliest bit of terrain out of the two of them, and it was much harder for him to take evasive action than it was for the other guy. So Phil felt bad, as I would at the time, but he looked on camera like he felt way too bad. It's not 100% his fault, this, and it doesn't matter whose fault it is. The point is that Phil shouldn't feel quite so bad. When you're dropping in off a rock the size that he was, it's really up to the other guy to take evasive action and be mindful of the fact that there could be someone coming down that rock. So really no need to feel bad, Phil. It was like a, you know, one of those things. Shit happens, doesn't it? I don't really see the point in feeling so bad, but it has to make my crash of the week this week, even though I know you're feeling a bit bent out of shape about it. So let's have a quick look at this crash.
Oh, this is where Seth ate it. Whoa. Dude, okay. No, dude.
I see you.
No, I feel like a total dick. Because I thought you had stopped. And...
that's good.
Dude, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, not a particularly funny one, that one, I don't suppose, but yeah, it's just, you know, it was the most well-known crash of the week, really, so I had to show it. But yeah, that's it for this week's Monday Mountain Bike Show. I've got big news coming up this week. I've got 1,000 subscribers coming up soon, so just to let you know, there's a good chance that there won't be a Monday Mountain Bike Show next week or a Trail Talk next week, and maybe for a couple of weeks. But that'll become a lot clearer why in the next week, over the next 5 or 6 days, and it's not for anything bad, it's only good things. It means that you'll be seeing me riding a lot more. So yeah, something big's coming up when I get to 1,000 subscribers. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. That's it, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. On your bikes.